Hey, everybubbles. Welcome to the infinite regression. Look at where you are. Man, so infinite, so regressy. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. Look, we don't have time for this. We're here to play video games, and play video games we shall. Because today we've got a really, really good one. A really great blast from my very personal past that's none of your business. Anyway, but I'm talking about a little game called Alien Syndrome for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, if I'm being perfectly honest, and why would I be anything but, the Nintendo Entertainment System version was not the first version of this game that I played. As a matter of fact, I didn't play it on the NES until I started collecting for the NES as an adult. But I was very familiar with this game because I played it on DOS, on my father's 386, and then later on his 486. Yeah, that's right. We kept up with the times. And then later on his Pentium-based systems. Ooh, yeah. But yeah, I totally played this game. It's a super fun game. And also, as soon as I started playing it, I remembered why I haven't played it in a while. And that is because it can be panic-inducing. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk the brass tacks, nuts and bolts, as 'twere. So, released in 1988, this version of it for the Nintendo Entertainment System first came out as a Tengen game. I always say Tengen. Is it Tengen? Have I been saying it wrong my entire life? Tell me. Please tell me. But yeah, it was a game that was, one of those unlicensed NES games, but one of the ones that you thought were licensed because they were everywhere. The very first version of Tetris was a Tengen game. Gauntlet was a Tengen game. And so, yeah, they had a whole bunch of games that were very popular, and it was not normal for there to be a really popular unlicensed game like that. The only other one that I can think of, because there were other unlicensed NES games, of course, but in terms of ones that were commercially viable that you would have heard of, that are not just worth a bajillion dollars now because the cartridges are so rare, are the Bible ones, which I have some of those, and even those are increasing in value. Now, yes, please do know, I don't know if I mentioned this enough, even though I'm capturing the gameplay in emulation here for the footage for this game, I do own original cartridges of all of the games that I'm reviewing, because here's the thing, it would be so easy, I could just review games that I don't own physical copies of. But if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to be reviewing ROMs that I downloaded on coolroms.com in 2002, yeah, which I probably still have some of those around. Yeah, remember back the early days of emulation when, oh my goodness, you were so cool if you figured out how to, play old Nintendo games on your computer. People would be like, what a genius! It was never very hard to do. But somehow everybody I knew thought that I was some sort of mastermind, that I had figured out this crazy new technology. Anyway, but yeah, so for real, I didn't play this game on the NES until I was playing it in emulation, but I did play it on DOS, and I may or may not have played it on the arcade before. I don't remember. But also, there's a very fun Wii version, that is, there's a version of Alien Syndrome for the Wii that is excellent. But yeah, just check out, look, I'm going to pull up a list. Here's everything that this game was ported to, just as a testament to how widely appealing it is. So arcade version, I said, was ported to the Amiga, the Atari ST, the Commodore 64, the Sega Master System, the Sega Game Gear, the Nintendo Entertainment System, MS-DOS, the MSX, which is a computer that I don't think we had here. I think that's a Japanese thing. The ZX Spectrum, which is a British thing, and the X68000, which is another Japanese thing that I don't think we had here. Forgive me if I'm not up to date on all of my, random vintage computers. I only know about the ones that I personally have owned or have personally detested because I'm an Atari guy. And yes, I'm sorry, it just runs too deep. Like, even though it's now a vintage scene and not a current scene, the debt that I owe to Atari for my childhood cannot be repaid, and therefore I owe it to, everyone over there at Atari. I cannot. So to the Jack Trammell family, Trammell, that's why I'm not saying it. Is it Trammell? I've never known how to say it, because every time I hear it pronounced, I remember, it's pronounced differently than it looks like on the page. Anyway, regardless, we're not here to talk about the former owners of Atari. We are here, or the fact that I've literally never touched a Commodore 64, even though I have been around them many times. Like, I have never personally let my fingers touch one, and I'm a little bit afraid to. Is that crazy? Am I crazy? I think I might be crazy. I'm definitely medicated for something. Anyway, so, yeah, all of that aside, people, we're here to talk about Alien Syndrome. It was ported to everything, and why? Because it's just a simple concept. Look, if this came out today, it would definitely be a twin-stick shooter, and, this was the days when we had not one stick, like we had a D-pad, and... yeah, notice that I'm kind of bad at it in emulation. That's because I'm playing with an Xbox 360 controller. Look, I've had some problems with the reliability of the Bluetooth connection with my Bluetooth controllers. It's a problem, and I don't know how to fix it. I've tried everything. I have a Steam controller. I have an 8-bit Do. I have a SteelSeries. I've done a PS4 controller. What else have I done? It's a PS3 controller. It's absurd. At a certain point, it is absolutely absurd how many controllers I've tried with Windows 10 and have just been frustrated by so many of them. The Xbox 360 controller works a charm, but if you've played on an Xbox 360, you know that controller, that D-pad, is a mushy mother, because it was never a console that you were ever going to be doing a whole lot with the D-pad on. So that D-pad is, like, for all the other strengths of the Xbox 360 controller, and it has several, that D-pad is its greatest weakness. It's terrible. It's a terrible D-pad. Anyway, so I will continue to look for other better solutions. Actually, you know what? I think I just thought of one. Maybe I'll do a video on it at some point. I'm going to try it out and we'll see. I just had a stroke of possibly. Anyway, so moving that aside, let's talk about this game. Super fun. You choose to be either the boy or the girl. Is it Ricky and Mary? I think, but I'm not looking it up, even though I totally could. And you choose one or the other. I see no appreciable difference between the two. Maybe there is one. I never noticed. But, kudos to them for being inclusive. So you choose Ricky or Mary. You go around, you rescue your comrades off the ship that has been infested with aliens, depending on which version you play. They may look like worms, they may look like shrimps, king prawns, other oceanic crustaceans. Yeah, I don't know. The aliens vary a little bit from version to version. So, you zip around, you check the map, you pick up various weapon pickups, which allow you to blast away the aliens to, greater or lesser effect. Some of the guns are not as good. I mean, they're hard to aim. The laser is very effective. It's got a very narrow beam, so you gotta be good with the aim, which if you're playing a mushy D-pad, you're better off with a flamethrower, which is totally awesome that this game has a flamethrower. Congratulations to you, developers of this game. You thought of cool weapon power-ups in a time that sorely needed them. There are a lot of games where the weapon power-ups were very unimaginative. And, Alien Syndrome, that's like a significant portion of the game is cool weapon power-ups. Anyway, and I love the map that, just various locations you can find out, like, okay, how many, you'll see up in the display, the little heads, those are not your lives, that's how many people you still need to rescue. And you go around, you rescue all of them, and, you can check the map and it'll show little dots and it'll have a big M for Mary or a big R for Ricky, I think, depending on which character you chose for where you are. Excuse me. Anyway, and so you look at the map, you zip around, you try and move quickly because that timer is going and you cannot stop to shoot every little alien. I think the thing that bothers me the most about the game, if I'm being perfectly honest, is that it's panic-inducing for me because the never-ceasing ticking of the clock reminds you that, there is nothing that you can do about how infested this ship is with aliens. All you can do, you leave that for Samus to come back to later. All you can do is just get your guys out of there. That's it. You just go, you get the, 10 guys that are randomly placed throughout the ship on the level that you happen to be on, and you're on a big frick ship, and you get your guys, and then you get out, and you run. And like I say, you leave it for Samus. This is a job for a woman. Actually, there's a woman in this game. That's right, I forgot. Equality. Anyway, but yeah. And so it's super fun because, top-down shootery vibes, blasting aliens, cool weapon pickups, what's not to like? Literally nothing. It's a winning package. But I will say this. For the NES version, okay? It doesn't have the worst graphics of any version that I've ever seen because, Master System graphics are not great. The Atari and Commodore versions, it is an earlier gaming generation, so yeah, not as great. Sorry. Admitting the truth, but it is true. But yeah, the NES version, not the sharpest graphics of all the things that you're going to see. The arcade version, much better. The DOS version, I remember it looking better. But yeah, this is not the cleanest version of the game in terms of graphics. Yeah, I think more than anything, the NES version, if you look at the other versions, it's like blues and grays and stuff, and the NES version is like poop brown and barf green. Like, the color palette on some NES games, play Faxanadu. really fun game, really good game. Look at the color palette. It looks like dog vomit. You know, it's a terrible color palette, but it's a really fun game. What are you gonna do? You know, and so yeah, playing the NES version, you are, you know, you're losing something from some of the other versions. But this game, I will say, okay, my two biggest gripes about this game, and they are, you know, not insignificant. I think they do make a difference. Are that, you know, number one, just the gameplay decision overall to have it be that you can't ever clear a level because all the enemies respawn, so you just have to get your guys and get out. It feels like you're cutting and running, like you're kind of losing, even if you're winning. I don't know. I always felt that way about this game. It's just kind of weird to me. You know, that you're just cutting your losses and leaving the ship for the aliens, you know? And the second issue that I have is with the boss. At least he's the first boss. I don't know all the bosses. I don't remember all the bosses. It's been a while. But, like, I was only able to get to the first boss in my playthrough. And I will tell you, some of the hit detection when you get to that boss screen and you're playing round things, but their hitboxes are square, means that you will get hit and you will die by getting hit by the square hitbox of a round object, which means that it will look like the object did not hit you and you will still die, which is just frustrating as all get out. I mean, that's something that, you know, speedrunners use to cheat with, or not cheat with, but like game the game, you know? And for the rest of us, it's a frustrating annoyance. Something that you have to deal with within the system's limitations. So yeah, I feel like a lot of other versions of this game have cleaner hitboxes for the enemies. And the NES, it just, you know, it feels limited in that way. And, but that's not even what I'm complaining about the most. Like, I understand that that is true of many beloved NES games. But what I am complaining about is the boss himself, who is a horrific piece of nightmare fuel. I mean, look at him. Look at him. Like, look at the freaking artwork. Like, okay, come over here. Look, here's the artwork for the original Tengen box. But here's what the artwork looks like for, like, all the other things. Here's some other artwork. Here's some other artwork. Like, look at this nightmarish, godforsaken, like, what? For the arcade version, you know, you're fighting this guy. He's got an area here, a region that looks like, it looks like a part that's on girls but not boys, if you catch my drift. Is what it looks like in the game. I mean, here it's a giant space worm. In the game, that's not what it looks like. But this weird old man head, and he's growing a baby head out the side of his head. And that's kind of what it looks like in the NES game. You know, it's a crazy, gross, like, how many crazy, weird, gross alien bosses do you have to face down in vintage games? So many. Literally so many. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I need to wrap this up. Alien Syndrome, I have a couple of gripes. That's it. Nothing major. Doesn't break the game at all. But here's my final score. I'm giving it a 4 out of a possible 5 Dylans from Obvious Plant. If you don't know about Obvious Plant, get your life in order. It is the best Instagram on the face of the earth. Ever, bar none. that's what it is. Or Tumblr. Is it a Tumblr or an Instagram? I don't remember. Look it up. It's one of the things, but it's the greatest of all the ones of those things that it is. The person who makes that might be the funniest person alive. They literally are in the running for funniest person on the planet right now. Anyway, but Dylan here captured kind of the panic that I always feel when I'm playing this game. It's like, you gotta move and now. We are cutting and running. Oh, I won? Well, it feels like I kind of lost too. I don't know. It's part of the appeal of this game. Like, if you just imagine that Samus comes through later and just cleans it up, then maybe you can sleep at night. But not after seeing that boss. Not after seeing that boss. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure, as always. If you made it all the way to the end, kudos to you, congratulations to you, and thank you for being here, for doing what you do, for supporting my little channel here, silly as it is, and bad as I am at putting out content at times. I do appreciate all of the people I have stopping and looking in, seeing what I'm into, because ultimately what this is about the fact that these games, they tie us together. You know, they are commonalities in our experience, and we're all just humans having our human experiences, and ultimately what means the most to us are those connections that we make with people who like the same things that we like. You know, think about your greatest connections that you have in life. A lot of times it's people who just are into the same stuff. So part of the beauty of this is that, you know, I get comments from people who are into the same things that I am, who like the same things that I like, and are motivated in kind of the same way that I am. And I love that. Absolutely love that. So if that's you out there hearing me do this and appreciating it in any way, thank you. For real. Anyway, that'll do it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.